What's going on, guys? Danny from Slow Restoration. We are working on the Trans Am. I'm going to get right into showing you how to put the Detroit Speed mini tubs. One sitting right there, the other one's over there, and you end up cutting this whole inner structure out just like this side. So here's the piece we cut out of that side, and you can see the new one to the old one, and you can see the height difference there. Quite a bit of difference. Detroit Speed includes these wheel tubs, these closeout plates that are shipped flat, and you do have to contour them to fit the car and the tub. Not really sure why they don't ship them out pre-bent. You would have to modify them slightly and tailor them to your car, but it would still be helpful if they shipped out not just flat. But regardless, so they give you the closeout plates, left and right mini tub, and over here on the front end of this car they give you a bunch of templates. You cut these out with a pair of scissors, put them on the car. It gives you rough guidelines of where to cut. It's not a dead set, you know, trim it here, the wheel tub's gonna fit. So there's material left, you will have to trim back to it, which is fine. It's better to have a little extra material than not enough and have to put some material back in. So they do, again, give you step-by-step directions. Kind of hard to follow. Like, a lot of these pictures are just black and white and pretty fuzzy and honestly pretty vague, because this mini tub kit covers a 1970 to 81 Camaro and Firebird, which are very similar, but each car is a little different. You can see how we have all this roughed out, and let me drop the car down and I'll show you how we got to that point on this side, because we haven't did any cutting, as you can see. I know no one wants to hear this, but as you can see, the interior of this car is completely stripped down. No seats, no carpet, no headliner, no package tray, everything's removed. You really do need to do that to be safe, because there's a lot of sparks, grinding, and then once you get to welding, there's welding sparks and hot metal flying everywhere. Very easy to catch something on fire if it's not stripped out. So inside here, the first thing you're gonna do is actually take and cut these pieces out. That's the opposite side. Let me find this side. So this side comes off here. You're gonna drill the spot welds, cut around the wheel well. You don't have to be super particular, just cut and get rid of this piece, because this wheel well is coming out, so is that piece. It's coming off too. So definitely just get that piece out of the way. And then they do give you some of the templates are right here. We did have to pull and scrape a lot of seam seal. These cars have a lot in them and they're gobbed on everywhere. To make these templates work and fit, you do have to trim that away. So I actually had it upside down. So the driver's side, you flip the template upside down. Passenger side is right side up. But again, this tab goes to the rocker. We're just gonna kind of loosely place this here because we already have it scribed. Kind of goes right there. You line everything up. It does float in some areas. Again, each car is slightly different, but that's the rough cutout you're gonna use. So we laid that in there, scribed our line. When I move it, you can kind of see our scribed line there. Again, it's rough. You just need to get that piece out. Once you have the back of this here, we're going to connect it with some 2-inch tape up and over and into the trunk. And then into the trunk, coming down with our tape, and then there's another template. Again, it gets flipped upside down for the driver's or left side, but you just kind of lay it against the wheel well and trace around that, and that is where you connect your tape line. So that'll be the cut line at the floor and the trunk floor and the shock tower area. Back inside here, so obviously if we cut it there, it's still attached here. So right here is where we're gonna make our cut. You don't need a template for that. Make sure your wires stay out of the way, but pretty much you're just gonna cut right there at that radius, all the way around, and then intersect in the back. There is some directions on how to manage this front and back portion in between where your templates are. But as you can see from this side, we just chopped that off, left that material there. We'll deal with that later. But right here at the radius, right on your scribe line, as nice and clean as you can. And again, we'll have to whittle that back. We can, once we get this cleaned up a little bit, we can actually start fitting that wheel tub and see what more material needs to come out and where it needs to come out. And then once you get that cut, you're cut along the floor and connect the two. This whole piece comes out just like that piece there. There's a lot still attached to it. No need to chisel all this off and separate it all, because that's all at this point just trash. So quickly, these closeout panels will, as you can see here, when you cut through that shock tower, there's multiple layers of metal. Those multiple layers of metal need to be tied back together and capped off. So once we get this ground straight, we can start forming and making these fit. As you can see, I started forming that. I need to go over a little bit more, but once we get these formed and positioned here, we can grind and do whatever we need to make that fit and work. This can actually be welded to the car once we get the wheel tub fitted. Obviously this metal has some thickness to it, so you're gonna have to take that much more material off, so when this is there, it's not pushing against your wheel tub. So, and again, the directions they give you are guidelines. They're loose guidelines. You're gonna have to kind of use common sense and do what the car needs to be done. These cars are old, they may have been in an accident, they might have a wrinkle in the floor, whatever. You just have to make work. As you can see here, we have a big gap here, it's tight here. So we'll fix that, hammer and dolly, do whatever we need to do to make that work. And a lot of cleanup and grinding. It's a lot of dirty work, but once you get all that cleaned up and test fitted, and then it's just a matter of welding your new stuff in. And again, it's going to be a lot of trial and error, test fitting, pulling back out, grinding, smoothing, cutting, test fitting. So your wheel tubs are going to be in and out quite a bit, but that's the rough idea. And at some point you just got to get dirty and start cutting. You're also going to need a variety of tools, you know, vice grips, chisels, pry bars, hammers, drills, drill bits, deal with spot welds here and there, and some cutting tools. Cutting tools can be a cutoff wheel. We don't have a ton of air pressure here, so we're using some electric stuff. And it works really good for just hogging material out that you're not trying to be super particular with. Good old-fashioned Sawzall. So in the meantime, I'm gonna get busy kind of cleaning this side up and getting it dialed in. And once we get this front section out, again, there's some guidelines, just kind of follow their directions. Again, loose guidelines, but take these tabs off and just clean all this up. We'll start fitting our wheel well. It'll be in and out a bunch of times. We'll grind this back as much as we can, because this wheel tub just has a flat flange, and that's where the two are going to weld together on the inside here. So that's the rough guideline. We're just going to start cutting and grinding here. I'll show as much as I can. Anything pops up that's out of the usual, out of the ordinary, I'll show you that too. But like I said, at some point you just got to quit talking, get grinding, get cutting, and kind of get dirty and get the job done. With all of our cuts roughed out here, we got Garrett over there working. We can pop that right out. Big old hole now. Don't let anyone tell you this isn't a dirty job, because it is. Garrett here showed up perfectly clean. He's been here for 10 minutes.
It grows fast on you, all the mess.
So as you can see over here, Garrett's finally got that to somewhat pop up in there, but it takes a lot of in and out, test fitting, grinding, dialing in. Look on the inside here, you can kind of see what we're working with. He's got his hand through that gap and it's touching up here. So obviously, do a little bit at a time. We're going to take some out up here. A little can be a lot. you take a little bit out there, it'll allow this whole wheel tub to relax and pop in place. So don't just start cutting massive amounts off. Definitely go a little bit at a time and keep test fitting. Got this all cleaned up, polished around the edges, kind of smoothed off. Got this front piece cleaned out. This used to come back towards us. We hammered this back. The new piece will overlap it and we'll be able to weld in. But it's about time to test fit this piece and just see how easy it fits in. All right, so we're close to fitting here. This back's a little bit tight. Let me see if I can. Wow, that's a lot closer than I thought. That's crazy. It almost fits first try. So this one actually went in. This is like the third test fit and it actually popped in. We'll have to do a little bit more cleanup and finessing with it. We still have to put our closeout panel behind it, which means we'll probably have to take a little bit more material. Well, there actually is room there. With all that work done, test fitting the tub, now it's time to move on to these brackets. Again, they shipped them to you flat in the box and you have to bend them and shape them, form them. Obviously they go here loosely. As you can see, the two layers kind of line up those slots there. We are going to build a piece here and cap that off so nothing gets shot up through the wheel well there, and we have a little bit more to weld onto, but pretty much they go there and you just kind of start shaping them around, and this gives you, this welds to the structure of the car, but also you come over here to the wheel well, gives you a flange to weld your wheel well to. You still have to do a little work on this side. They give you a front piece here, and this is actually looking really good. Again, it's shipped flat. You have to make all these contours and bends and just make it work. It does not line up perfectly even with the bottom of this. It actually hangs down a bit. As you can see, you can make that work pretty good like that. Everything roughly fitted up, that's what we're gonna look like. Everything's pretty smooth. We're gonna pull this wheel well back out and finish our flange welding, but everything's mocked up, at least on this side here. The other side's very close also, so pull this wheel well out, dial all this in, grind everything smooth, wheel well back out. That's what our flanges look like. This back one's pretty much welded. Do a little more cleanup. Front one's just tacked in there, so we'll keep working on that. Garrett's working on his side, got it looking really good. That side was a fight. This side, for whatever reason, you're gonna find that between car to car or side to side, you're gonna have one side that may be super easy, the other side's just gonna fight you the whole way, or you might have both sides fight you. It's just, you never really know until you get into it and start doing your metal work, but everything's fixable. That's about how you gotta do most of the work right there. Upside down, scrunched in a tight spot, but we did get this side all welded up, smoothed out. The wheel tub will go over this, so no sense mirror polishing it. We're just smoothing it off so nothing catches, and really strengthens the body with these flanges welded on. So I think the wheel well is actually, yeah, it's all prepped all the way around. So we're getting ready to throw this up in and probably put it in its final location and start welding. All welded up, all mocked up. Went ahead and cleaned everything up and used some weld through primer on there. So let's go ahead and get this wheel tub back in. We'll do a final fitment, make sure we're happy with everything, and start drilling and plug welding it in. That wheel well back in place, what we're going to do is line everything up. So I had Garrett line it up from the bottom. We pushed and pulled to make that line up. We took some self-tappers here, one there, one there, one there, kind of evenly spaced out. Got that screwed in, and then we'll take some of these clamps here. It's a very tight area you have to work in, but you gotta do what you gotta do. We'll take our clamps here and just start cinching down. I usually try and get a clamp on either side of where I'm working, and then go ahead and drill and plug weld. We'll move our clamps, drill and plug weld, and just continue from here all the way till we can't reach anymore. Then we'll transition to the inside of the car. Weld it in through there. Weld on the inside here. So this flange is fully welded the whole way around. And now we are working on clamping and drilling the rest of this. This side's completely welded up on the exterior in through here and around. That's what it looks like before you clean it up. We'll just go back and knock all the tops off these spot welds, plug welds, whatever you want to call them, and clean that up. And we got a couple more things to do, but that's pretty much how it's gonna look. Gets real close to the frame rail right in this area, takes most of your shock tower area out, and just widens that whole section through there. Of course, we're going to end up seam sealing, make that real nice. This actually fit real nice and tight all the way up through here. Once we seal that, it'll look just like factory. With the Detroit Speed mini tubs installed in this 1979 Trans Am, it's time to move on to the rear suspension. And to take care of that, we're going to Speed Tech and actually Dutchman Racing, I think it is. Yeah, there's a box over there. Dutchman supplied the 9-inch with all the correct bracketry, but this is a Speed Tech torque arm rear suspension.